law. But if the custodian of the law is corrupt and the custodian of the law is bent on individual interests, I am sorry, the conduct of the security forces is bound not to be correct. And as a nutshell, we all know that our constitution is a genuine constitution, but when it comes to the leadership to implement and apply it on people, there have been situations where the constitution used to be amended. We have all passed through the era. Gone are those days. Let's open a new page, and I'm saying I'm sorry that I was, picked from the genuine society to be placed in an genuine society by virtue of service conditions. But I'm not supposed to be the type of person who have been serving the government people in that way. My service would have been of genuine cause. Nevertheless, it is said in Surah Al-Hadid that no misfortune, I have said it here, no misfortune will befall your souls or on earth without it being written in the books of Allah's decree. I am a human being, I am not perfect. And I will not deny that I have been put to gross human rights violations. This uniform I am putting on is your uniform. It's a uniform that I put on to serve the people. If I get it all wrong, I admit that I get it all wrong. My testimony here, I feel, is an accomplishment of my oath of allegiance. The command never used to tell me to explain until when the order comes that explain the people need this. I have to. Military is a different field from all other institutions. In military, we operate by orders, and orders in the military is reference to a superimposed instruction on a subordinate that he could not turn down at the time. There are rules which could be part of the customs and traditions of the military. What happens in the field, stays in the field, is something I have mentioned during my statement. Rule number 1 says the senior man is ever correct. When he is wrong, refer him to rule number. Whenever he is wrong, refer him to rule number 1. That is the rule number 2. Again, there are 2 levels of performance in the military. This I have not dealt with the council, lead council. That is the strategic level, and you have the tactical level. Each of these levels have got a responsibility in the conduction of an order. The strategic level will make decisions, decide what will happen by conduct of the forces. And at the tactical level, your responsibility is to implement the order that comes through the chain of command to you. So at certain times, we, the subordinates in the army, will find ourselves in a very critical position like I am today. Why? Because the army is a violent institution in charge of arms and ammunition. And arms and ammunition is what can make a whole life or a generation messed in a second. Well, with the strategic level, as I have explained, are responsible of making decisions and setting the drive or the course and the directives. When we are at the bottom, we take and implement orders. When I was in the team, I was not a lieutenant. Today, I am trained to pick up my orders. But yesterday, I was there to implement the order. So I will not hesitate to say sorry to anybody that I have wronged in the past. It has happened by God's decree, but I wouldn't choose to shoot even a chicken at my own time. For I have been sleeping home with my rifle, but I never shot even a chicken without order. Those of our Gambian population who are saying whether the former president gave instruction or not, I am telling you that we are here to tell you that he was the commander-in-chief, and he has a responsibility according to our laws. The people voted him into power, and he was vested with the powers to take directives And he was vested, with the power to protect the people through his leadership. That is why we vote him there. In all of this, the government is a wide setup, but all of us have to answer to his directives. If we did something wrong yesterday and we are here today, we are not picked since then until today, then I think we are liberated from a situation that we need to tell each other the truth. Having said it and given it, I think I give it out in the interest of my country. Whatever is next, after that, I give it to God. For he said in the Quran that, never cheat the truth, since you know it is the truth. Testify to your utmost, even if the testimony is to be included you and leave everything in the hands of Allah. Well, with my observation, I have mentioned about the subordinate position being critical, and I have said about the order. I pray to God that God give us a genuine leadership and an honest leadership. Otherwise, we may find it difficult to get this repetition, not to happen. But I will advise all Gambians to look properly before we are to give our votes to anybody now that we have got democracy. And let's try to think positive. Let's try to be forgiving, please. Because mistakes, when they happen, it's better to learn from somebody's mistake than to learn from your own mistake, because sometimes it may be too late. With recommendations that I would like to put forward, Mr. Counsel, in the Army, as per my observation since my enlistment into the Army, I would say the skills training for secondment is something important for soldiers. Because when a soldier is serving and he is not having a hope of making a life, if he is to be out of the service, this may subject him to obey all type of orders, even whereas he knows it is wrong or it's right. So I recommend that, we introduce general skill training for secondment in the Army to all soldiers. The battalion training program, routine training programs are dead. Since the inception of the Jammeh's suspicion of those multiple coups, he has put a halt to all these battalion, routine training programs. This has yielded to soldiers, involvement, too much involvement into political activities. But if the battalion routine programs, training programs are running, the soldier would not have time for political discussions. Each time he goes to work, he will be engaged from the morning to the time he is going to close, and at the end of the day, even if he closes and go home, he wouldn't have the time to be on political platforms. Again, with the leadership of my institution and the entire security components of the Gambia, my observation, according to my observation, I may get it all wrong, but I think it is the entire security components of the Gambia that all contributed to this failure, because it was strongly coordinated that even if you have a problem somewhere and you want to fix it from another angle, you will knock and still find the door closed as per the way where you have left to solve your problem. Our leadership in the security has to give an ear to their subordinate. I will advise the leadership, the national leadership, to try at all costs periodically to be listening to the subordinate directly if they can create a platform in which the national leadership can get information directly from the subordinate servants, like private soldiers coming upwards. Because why I'm saying this, each time we have a DOBA is a session in which the senior command will have to be meeting the junior command, but each time it is to take place, most of the time, there are intermediate ranks that will advise the subordinates that you have to know what to say. And if that happens, the right problem may be obstructed from reaching the right person. As a result, it will yield to nothing other than frustration of subordinates. When a soldier is frustrated, he may be tempted or opted to do something that he may not even know the danger of or the outcome of. Next to that, I have also mentioned about the criticism. This is the main problem the Gambia has got. I believe many Gambian brains have been hypnotized. That is a belief in me. We have seen so many types of charities that were never expected from a Muslim. We were working under a leader that we think we know, but we did not know him. He was a disguise.